Look, we're gonna turn the nerd dial up to 10 here. Hopefully they stick to those tactical principles, goals at both ends. This is where who blinks first.
Chelsea go to Liverpool on Sunday afternoon in the battle of the title outsiders. Fourth goes to first in what is likely to be one of the biggest tests of the season for both teams. And of course, we are back here in the Tactics Exposed studio with SunSport tactical guru Dean Scoggins, who has got 5 tactical teasers that you should be looking out for during this weekend's game. Dino.
Yeah, first we've got Maresca's tension ball against Slot's 4-man press, which could result in the biggest game of chicken that we've seen in the Premier League. Secondly, how less is more for Cole Palmer. So less touches equaling greater success with a little hat tip there to Enzo Fernandez. Thirdly, why Levi Colwill is so crucial to Maresca's tactical master plan, but Liverpool jumping out might counterbalance that. Number 4 is how the game could be decided in the battle on the halfway line, with the Chelsea wingers of Sancho and Noni Madueke against Liverpool's amazing fullbacks Trent and Robertson. And last but not least, why enigmatic Nicolas Jackson is such a vital cog in Chelsea's tactical machine.
Well, look, it promises, Dino, does it not, to be one of the most intriguing games of the season so far. You hear the big team names and you think, wow, I can't wait to get that on. But from a tactical point of view, it's sure to be a thriller. We've already done on Tactics Exposed this season Arne Slot and how well Liverpool did at Manchester United with that thumping, resounding victory up there. It was the 4-2-4 press, Dominic Szoboszlai playing that, the up-and-down role, the old-school Steven Gerrard-esque role. But you've mentioned there a game of chicken and how Maresca's tension ball against Slot's press system, which we've already looked at, is going to, talk to me about this game of chicken.
It's absolutely fascinating. So, look, we're gonna turn the nerd dial up to 10 here. So this is all for fascinating tactical stuff. But Maresca's system, first of all, OK? We've seen it with lots of different managers, but he is an absolute disciple of inverted fullback, OK? Right. So first of all, we're going to see that. More often, though, Malo Gusto is doing that from right back for Chelsea. And again, 3 at the back. Malo Gusto goes inside alongside Caicedo, and Enzo Fernandez pushes up alongside Cole Palmer in those sort of number 10, off Nicolas Jackson positions. What that does, crucially, is create an overload in midfield, where if you've got 2 or 3 midfielders against you, you've got a box where you've got 4 against 3. Yep. Obviously, somewhere else on the field, that means you're underplayed. Yep. But in that area of the field, Maresca wants that to happen.
So just in that situation there, you're talking about the inverted fullbacks. The bit where they're exposed, I guess, is in the fullback position?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And that's where the game of chicken starts. So we saw what Liverpool did at Old Trafford, and they push on. They're brave, OK? Roy Keane asked Arne Slot after the game. And the other thing about this game is it's 2 managers who absolutely love talking about their tactics. Yeah. So it's joyous for someone like me. So Arne Slot answered the question, wasn't that a little bit bold? Wasn't that a little bit brave? Well, it was, because he pushes 4 men on to United, basically knowing United aren't good enough to play out from that press, and they're going to nick the ball. And Gravenberch and McAllister behind that 4-man press are going to go and pick the pockets whoever plays in behind.
Right, look, before we look at Liverpool then, we've covered them earlier in the season on Tactics Exposed, but Chelsea and this tension ball, where's the tension come from?
Well, what he wants to do is to create tension in that midfield zone. What that means basically is you have to have players who are good under pressure. OK? Right. Malo Gusto used to be a midfield player. He's now coming in off as a right back and playing in midfield. Cucurella, we know, is very good in those areas as well. Fernandez, World Cup winner, and then obviously Cole Palmer, it goes without saying. But these players want it in tight spaces. And if they are taking it under pressure from 1 or 2 players, what that means is there's somebody else who's free. Yeah. And so if you can take it in tension, and honestly, you listen to Maresca talk about tactics and he talks about tension and jumping players all over the place. And so he creates tension in one area. And what Enzo Fernandez is doing is moving into areas where he actually doesn't really want the ball. Or if he gets the ball, he's just going to play a little push pass. And then Cole Palmer is the one that's free. So
when you talk about tension ball, is that, I'm imagining, being a Chelsea fan, and you're almost suggesting that Maresca wants a couple of moments where, as a Chelsea fan, you're sitting in the stadium going, oh, God, no.
exactly.
But then actually that's a key moment, and then you can spring from there. And am I getting this right, where you're saying Cucurella comes in, adds that overload, and that isn't... You're not normally going to have one of the wingers go with him. You're going to have a midfielder or a defender come out of position to sort of even it up, which then opens up Palmer. Is that right?
And absolutely right. But that's the game of chicken. That's because if Liverpool leave 4 up, that is then only 3 Chelsea defenders.
Yeah.
And then Chelsea have got more players in midfield and attack. But then if Liverpool win the ball back, Liverpool are 4 on 3 going the other way. So that's the game of chicken. And also it's important to note that on occasions, when they've got the ball, Maresca loves bringing the goalkeeper into the back 4. And, you know, we've seen that also with other teams. But Levi Colwill will come inside and Sanchez, the goalkeeper, will come in and create an extra body on the ball, OK, which means then you've also got the same number of players against the 4-man press and you've got an extra man in midfield as well. But obviously that comes with risk. We saw what Sanchez did against Brighton.
Yeah.
Don't do that again.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Right, number 2, less is more for Cole Palmer, and how Enzo Maresca has managed to get more out of Palmer. He's having an amazing season so far, but actually he's touching the ball less. Yeah,
he is touching the ball less, and obviously his stats are slightly flattered this year by the fact that he scored 4 in one game. And, you know, the assists for Noni Madueke's hat-trick at Wolves as well. But what we're effectively saying is, we talked about this in the England episode, where Cole Palmer is going to occupy this inside right space. Yeah. Under Pochettino last year, he was starting on the right and coming in off the right-hand side, a bit more like Saka, if you like, in a slightly different way, but positionally very, very similar. But now, this season, it's basically like, no, we want you as our 10. Yeah. So it's inside right 10, but we're going to get Palmer on the ball as much as possible. Enzo Fernandez has been a bit of a strange player for Chelsea. They didn't really know what they were getting from him last year. But what he's doing is being incredibly tactically aware. And he's a massively important part where he goes into an area where he's got to be picked up. Yeah. And so, therefore, when they create that tension that we talk about and an opposition player jumps out of position, either Fernandez can receive the ball and just play it to Palmer or Jackson straight away, and then off they go, or he's just occupying a space. And if he occupies that space, that means Cole Palmer's got more space.
Yeah. So £105 million, I think it was, for Fernandez, just to never touch the ball.
Yeah, not never. I mean, he's doing a very, very good job defensively as well, because if they lose the ball high up the field with players flooding forward, with Sancho going one side, Palmer going up with Jackson and Noni Madueke going the other side, then Enzo will probably make a foul somewhere around the halfway line, but he'd get back in and help Caicedo as well, and the inverted fullback. But what's also interesting within a Maresca formation is they don't always, when they lose possession, revert the fullback back into the back 4. He often stays in midfield, which makes them even more exciting, because then you've got danger going the other way. Yeah.
So just quickly, Dino, just drill in for me then. Why is Palmer touching the ball less? And why is that making him look, and certainly his stats will tell that story, making him look and be more effective and play better?
Because when he touches the ball around the halfway line and when he comes deeper to receive the ball, we talk about players like Palmer receiving the ball in a square, in between the lines, tight in possession. And he was doing that too much under Pochettino in his own half and on the halfway line. And he did that for England this week as well. Far too deep, far too deep. For Chelsea, it's don't want you involved there. It's almost Messi-like, and you know, that is a big compliment. But obviously, he's a very, very good player.
Bit of a stretch.
Yeah. But you know, it's almost like, don't get involved in the stuff we don't want you involved in. Yeah. And then when we get the ball, it's you. You're the man. We want you there.
Yeah. Right, Levi Colwill, and how he's a crucial cog in the wider Maresca machine. But jumping Liverpool is how you described it. That actually could be the key to counteracting the Colwill effect.
Absolutely. Well, this works both ways. And again, this is this fascinating tactical, you know, face-off, if you like, between the two. Yeah, brilliant. It's going to be brilliant. Honestly, I think it's going to be brilliant, because Colwill has been the sort of surprise of the season, if you like, for those people who probably don't go to Stamford Bridge every week. You know, he's got in the England squad. He's been playing very well, but it's the amount of touches that he gets. And so he is the key man. They've got this sort of complementary thing going on where Fofana is the big physical runner and Colwill's the ball player, you know, and Colville's a big boy as well. So
the John Terry Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah, very much so. But what Colwill's got the responsibility of is being the ball player, OK? And what this Maresca team does that Pochettino's team didn't do was be more direct through the lines.
Right.
So Pochettino's Chelsea would play far too many short passes, and that's really significant because if you play lots of short passes, you're not really going anywhere, and teams then get back in their shape, and then that's where Pochettino's style fell down, where you then catch the fullbacks out. Colwill is bossing it, OK? He's bossing it. So when he gets the ball, be it with the goalkeeper or the inverted fullback and the other centre-back alongside him, he's playing the ball through the lines, through the tension in midfield or into the feet of someone in those tension positions in midfield. And then that means bang, bang, play off. They scored their perfect goal at West Ham. And Enzo Maresca went crazy on the touchline because it's straight off the training ground. The ball goes back into Colwill. They're in a perfect position. One of the fullbacks, I think it was Cucurella in this instance, was inverted. The ball gets played into Enzo. Cucurella is just occupying a position again to create that tension.
Distracting the
midfielder. Palmer's distracting the midfielder the other side.
Well, I think the left-back that was, wasn't it?
It was, I think, who'd come in to try and take Palmer. The ball gets popped off to one side to Caicedo, which looks like a risky pass, but it's in that tension area in midfield. Yeah, and then Caicedo plays it down the middle to Nicolas Jackson to run onto. Comes from Levi Colwill, and they'll do that a lot. He plays a lot of 25, 30, 35-yard passes to the wingers, to strikers' feet. Maresca wants the other team to jump. He wants his other team players to jump out of position. West Ham fell for it, hook, line and sinker, because they just jumped into positions where Chelsea aren't actually going to play the ball in there. They just want them in there so they can play it round them. So Liverpool will be cuter than West Ham, but, you know, also by being brave with your press and going for it, you can get joy.
So if Liverpool or Arne Slot is watching this episode and he's a bit worried about the Levi Colwill effect, the jumping, is that effectively what you've spoke about in previous episodes, where it's that at a certain point, a trigger point, the press engages? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, if you pick everybody up from their attacking sense, if you've marked up their front five and you go man for man, then you're hoping that your midfield players will then be able to, as the pass is played, go and put real pressure on the ball for the man who's got the next touch.
So when would they jump?
They would jump as soon as Colville's hit the pass.
Right.
As soon as he's hit the pass, they'd go and try and intercept or try and put pressure on going the other way.
The first touch.
Exactly. And then they've got their four men flooding at the other way.
Right, Dino, the battle of the halfway line. We've had the battle of the bridge in previous years, Chelsea v Tottenham. Now we've got the battle of the halfway line. Noni Madueke and Jadon Sancho going head-to-head in a major ding-dong with two of the world's greatest fullbacks in Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson.
Yeah, this is one of the most fascinating areas of the field because what Klopp obviously did last year with Trent was he inverted and Robertson didn't really, so Robertson would go up and down that side. This year, Slot's a lot more balanced. Just quickly on the Ipswich game earlier in the year, Liverpool weren't getting any joy with Trent inverted because Ipswich were pressing with four men going forward. So therefore, Trent went back into after half-time, went into a more normal,
conventional
right back position, played Salah in, goal, done and dusted. So there's the thing with Trent, that he can do both those things. But Chelsea's wingers will retain the width. They will stay right on the line. And what they want is for that jump.
Yeah.
Again, we're talking about the jump of the fullback to come out to them so that then they can play 1-2s in behind or a little first-time push pass into Cole Palmer or Fernandes in those 10 positions, and then your fullbacks are out of position. Of course, Liverpool's way of playing this would be, right, we want Madueke and Sancho going the other way, back towards their own goal, because we're going to hit them hard and press them going that way. And look, it really could be decided, this game, on how those two matchups go. And yeah, Sancho all straight away has become quite a vital player for Maresca.
It feels quite risky in both of those scenarios for both teams, really, because obviously Liverpool's attacking wingers in Salah and Diaz are better than Chelsea's pairing of Madueke and Sancho, as you mentioned. Obviously, like you say, Palmer will be in the 10, so you take him out of the equation for a little bit. The wingers will still have to do an element, surely, of defensive work.
Absolutely.
But where do both teams strike that balance?
Well, and this is where I think Liverpool could really get some joy, because if then Trent and Robertson are in these positions where they go man for man against those two wingers, what that means is that Liverpool's wingers in Salah and Diaz are going to, because Chelsea invert and then not always go back to a back four. So let's say they lose possession in transition and then they've only got 3 defenders. The 2 Chelsea defenders have got a decision to make about going out to Salah and Diaz, because those big channels that will be in behind for those 2 to run into will be a real target area. Again, this goes back to the game of chicken, because if Slot counterbalances the inverted fullback, he might not then get the space for those 2 to work in. Because if Salah comes back in to help out with the inverted fullback, or Diaz does it the other side, then they don't have the out ball of their 2 wingers. Whereas if they leave their wingers on the wings and Chelsea don't mark them, then we're going to have some fun again going the other way.
But surely Enzo Maresca would be crazy. I understand the attacking advantage of inverting the fullbacks, Malo Gusto and whoever plays left-back at the weekend. But surely against wingers of world-class ability like Mo Salah and Luis Diaz, it's a huge risk to leave yourself so exposed when you haven't got the ball in those areas, to let them have the run of Anfield, which they've had so many times.
No, well, this is where who blinks first. You know, who's gonna blink first? Who's gonna change their tactics? Because in possession with the ball, without question, Chelsea will invert the fullbacks and play that way. But of course, players make mistakes and they miscontrol one, and before you know it, bang, Liverpool have gone the other way. So I don't think we're going to see counter press, like Jurgen Klopp style counter press, but what we are going to see is well-timed press from Liverpool. And are Chelsea good enough to cope with that?
Right, the enigmatic Nicolas Jackson, sometimes frustrated if you talk to Chelsea fans, but he seems to have been coming into his own a little bit. He signed a 500-year contract, so he's not going anywhere anytime soon. But why is he so key and so important for Enzo Maresca and his Chelsea system?
Well, he's vital for my dream team as well, because he's the one I took the punt on at the start of the year, and it's paying off. Yeah, it's paying off at the moment. Yeah. I'm anti-Haaland for dream team anyway. But yeah, it's basically he's doing an enormous amount of work. He's absolutely running his socks off. And Maresca, in a Maresca system, if you think about that, what we talked about, that box tension in midfield, whether it's 4v3 or 3v2, often what happens is the opposition will drop another defender in there to just go man for man. And therefore, where is your overload? Well, your extra man is your striker. Right. And so he'll come short. He'll come in between and those 2 things.
Does your extra man depend where the defender goes?
If somebody goes man for man on Palmer, then Jackson is the one that needs to come and get the ball.
But if Jackson's marked, Palmer's free.
Exactly. And that's where Levi Colwill's passing, as we talked about, is more direct into those wingers or those 2 going forwards.
Or Jackson?
Or, yeah, absolutely, into Jackson's feet. And that, against West Ham in that amazing goal they scored from a Maresca point of view, Jackson was actually coming to receive the ball off Levi Colwill, and then when he sees that they're going to play the bounce in midfield and they've created the tension, Jackson's then spun his man and gone in behind and been one-on-one.
It's the Jackson goal you're talking about.
It is the Jackson goal where he runs down the centre of the field, yeah. And he also does this thing now where he was a big fan of Thierry Henry growing up, and he runs that inside left channel. He used to play as a left winger, so he's very comfortable drifting out into that left-hand channel, which again is creating space for Palmer in a more 9/10 position where Kyle Palmer's just banging it in the top corner. So, look, he's working really, really hard. He's getting in positions that are a nightmare for defenders because, again, if he goes to feet, what Maresca wants is a centre-back to jump out of position with him and create that space in behind for Sancho and Noni Madueke to go in behind. Happened at Wolves. Madueke scores a hat-trick. That's exactly, this is really, really clever stuff for Maresca. And Jackson, despite having a lot of critics, is absolutely buying into it, and he's a big, big threat.
I'm really excited. Now, Dino, who blinks first? Indeed. Just quickly then, how do you see it going?
Well, hopefully they stick to those tactical principles. We see an open attacking game, goals at both ends, 3-3, 4-4, 5-5, even 6-6.